Hello again, my loyal viewers and newcomers alike. I am Dark Zaz, and this channel is dedicated to exploring theology through history and philosophy. I am not here to attack or discredit anybody's beliefs, only to broaden the conversation and encourage thoughtful, open-minded dialogue. Disclaimer: this script draws on mainstream biblical scholarship, historical criticism, and early Christian sources. Some points reflect majority academic consensus, others remain debated. This does not claim Jesus did not exist or the Gospels were deliberately fabricated. Rather, it examines how Jesus' words, actions, and identity were shaped, translated, and theologized over time. For deeper study, consult scholars such as E.P. Sanders, Bart Ehrman, Dale Allison, Paula Fredrickson, and Anchor Yale Bible Series, and peer-reviewed journals. He is the most famous man in history, yet we have not a single word written by his own hand, nor a single contemporary account of his life. 2 billions. He is the second person of the Trinity, born of a virgin, raised from the dead. But beneath the curated Christ of the 4th century church lies a 1st century Jewish revolutionary. When we strip away the layers of the Greco-Roman philosophy and later church dogma, we find a figure that is both more human and in some ways more radical than the one we see in the stained glass. Today we are looking at the Jesus of history versus the Christ of faith. The tradition gives us a carpenter from Nazareth, but the Greek word used in the Gospels is tekton. In the 1st century Levant, a tekton wasn't just a woodworker. He was a general builder or stonesmith, a day laborer at the bottom of the social ladder. While the curated Jesus lived a quiet life until age 30, historians point to Sepphoris, a massive Roman city being built just 4 miles from Nazareth during Jesus' youth. The historical Jesus likely spent his silent years as a migrant laborer in a Greco-Roman city, witnessing firsthand the crushing inequality between the Roman elites and the Jewish peasantry. This wasn't a quiet village life, it was an education in systemic oppression. The Gospels are our primary sources, but they are not eyewitness journals. They were written 40 to 60 years after Jesus' death, in Greek, by authors living outside of Palestine. Scholars have identified a paper trail that suggests the stories evolved. Most historians believe in a lost document called Q, a collection of Jesus' sayings that existed before the Gospels. In the Q material, Jesus looks less like a deity and more like a Jewish cynic philosopher, someone focused on radical poverty, social subversion, and the immediate kingdom of God, rather than his own divinity or a future religion. In the curated tradition, Jesus performs miracles to prove that he is God. However, in the 1st century world, wonder-working was a crowded field. Figures like Honi the Circle Maker and Hanina Bendoza were also famous Jewish miracle workers. The historical tension lies in how these acts were viewed. The early charges against Jesus in the Talmud suggest that he was viewed by his critics not as a god, but as a magician who learned sorcery in Egypt. To a historian, the miracles aren't proofs of divinity, but signs of a charismatic healer, acting within a well-documented tradition of Jewish folk medicine. A major gap between history and tradition is when Jesus claimed to be the Messiah. In the Gospel of John, written latest, he is open about it, but in the Gospel of Mark, written earliest, Jesus constantly tells people not to tell anybody who he is. This Messianic Secret suggests that the historical Jesus might have been much more cautious, or that his followers only retroactively applied the title Messiah to him after his death. The historical Jesus was an apocalyptic prophet, warning of the end of the age. The curated Jesus is the one who came to start a new religion. We often frame the crucifixion as a purely religious event, the Jewish leaders versus the prophet. But the historical reality is political. Crucifixion was a Roman punishment reserved for seditionists, those who challenged the authority of the empire. The King of the Jews sign placed above his head wasn't just a taunt. It was a legal charge. The historical Jesus was executed as a political threat to the Roman order because his message of a kingdom of God directly contradicted the kingdom of Caesar. The church later moved the blame away from Rome to the Jewish people to survive within the empire. But the cross remains a historical fingerprint of a political execution. The curated Christ is a figure of cosmic peace, distant and divine. But the historical Jesus is a grit-under-the-fingernails artisan who stood up in the dirt of Galilee and told the poor that the world was about to turn upside down. Whether you believe in the resurrection or not, the historical figure remains one of the most successful subversives ever to live. He didn't just change the map of heaven, he forced the Roman Empire to eventually kneel at the foot of his cross. Thank you all for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the shadows that history has tried so hard to forget.